What's up, Meta Nerds? If you're a fan of size and stat comparisons, then this video is for you, as there isn't much history behind the amazing structures that are the Golan space defense platforms. But each of the 4 iterations had its own stats, and because they need to be examined independently, this video will be very heavy in the stats and comparisons. Each of these were manufactured by Golan Arms, a company that was a subsidiary of Kuat Drive Yards, the creators of the Star Destroyers, but Golan was the parent company of Ventex Construction Yards, which produced the Haven-class medical station. If that shipbuilder genealogy seems complicated, it is on purpose, intended to show how many corporate takeovers occurred, and how the mega manufacturers kept the illusion that they weren't monopolies. The Golan I was released during the final years of the Republic, and was used as a giant security guard for shipyards and planetary outposts. The earlier models did not have a hyperdrive, and thus I believe had to be delivered in sections, and built on site, since it was longer than the Republic's largest capital ship. The Golan I was 1,231 meters, or 0.76 miles, making it almost a consular-class cruiser longer than the Venator. At a width of 328 meters, or 1,076 feet, it was about 3/5 the Venator, or 8 Jawa sandcrawlers across, and at a height of 657 meters, or 2,156 feet, it would stand 30 AT-ATs high, or 2.5 stacked up Venators. Its cost of 26,191,000 credits is about half that of a Venator, but it paid for a hull that was rated at 1,520 RUs, about 3 times the Republic Star Destroyer, and 76 times as strong as an X-Wing. This is along with a shield rating of 3,200 SBD, the same rating as the Venator and the Victory. It also had an impressive armament of 28 turbolaser batteries, 5 proton torpedo launchers, for a total of 80 torpedoes on board, and 6 tractor beams. And as for its complement, it had 24 starfighters, 4 patrol boats, and 4 shuttles, all of varying models depending on the circumstances. Its 5,000-man crew gets near that of the Venator, but it could carry 5 times the passengers at 10,000, but only a quarter of the cargo at 5,000 tons, enough to carry 6,250 dewbacks. Now the Golan I, its official name the somewhat redundant Golan Space Defense Space Gun, was introduced towards the end of the Clone Wars, but phased out for the Golan II by the time of the Empire. This model only had around a 3 million credit increase, but it doubled that shield strength, and raised the hull rating to 2,272 RU, now about 4 times as strong as the Venator, and about 1.5 times the Victory. Its overall length jumped to 2,158 meters, or 1.34 miles long, making it as long as an Imperial-class Star Destroyer, plus an Old Republic Interdictor-class cruiser. Its incredible width is 3,956 meters, or 2.46 miles, enough space to land 4 ISDs side by side, while at a height of 2,308 meters, or 1.43 miles, was as tall as 1.5 ISDs, standing end to end. The Golan II also upped the armament to 35 turbolaser batteries, 10 proton torpedoes, and 8 tractor beam projectors. But it did reduce its complement down to just 13 starfighters, and surprisingly for an Imperial ship, and just for any ship this large, its crew is drastically lowered to just 699, and had only 220 stormtroopers. Its cargo capacity was doubled, but I'm thinking that this last group of stats doesn't include droids or local personnel that you might expect to find on this massive space station, as one of its designated roles was for planetary defense and traffic control, where the Golan II would act as a checkpoint that one would have to pass before landing on an Imperial world. This station was used to defend Imperial starships in the Bierley system, and became one of the biggest threats to Rogue Squadron when they tried to capture this crucial asset. But even these stations were deemed to be ineffective, so as you would expect, it got supersized. The Golan III Space Defense Nova Gun cost 39,435,000 credits, which was incredibly cost effective. It is still around 20 million less than a Venator, and only a quarter of the cost of the ISD, while now reaching a length of 2,600 meters, or 1.62 miles long, nearly an ISD plus a Venator, while at a width of 1,655 meters, or 1.02 miles, it was more narrow than its predecessor, but still long enough to stretch an ISD across it long ways. And at a height of 2,128 meters, it was about as high as 4 Venators. But what I find most impressive is its increased shielding and hull strength, with a hull rated at 3040 RU, twice as strong as the Victory class, and nearly 6 times the Venator, while its shielding is almost 3 times as strong as these two Clone Wars era Star Destroyers. The crew is still low, 1,108, while only carrying a complement of 300 troopers, and now just 12 starfighters, and up to 19 dewbacks. But its armament is an insane 50 turbo laser batteries, 24 proton torpedo launchers, and 15 tractor beams. The Golan III was known to be paired up with the 2,200 meter long Allegiance-class battlecruiser in the defense of the scanner stations in the BIS security zone, but it was also charged with defending some of the galaxy's most important planets, like Coruscant and Munilist. But the Golan series platform was destined to outlive the Empire itself, and apparently 4 more iterations were made, which there are no stats or even names for, but we end up with the last of the series, the Golan VIII. These were used by the Galactic Federation of Free Alliances, a galaxy-spanning government that takes over after the New Republic, and one of its key additions was that it included a hyperdrive. It was a Class 4, with a backup Class 12, slower than any Star Destroyer, but this finally allowed the massive station to become mobile. Even with the technological advances over the decades, it still had to power down all of its shields and weapon systems in order to get that hyperdrive running, so you were either moving or fighting, but not both. At 45 million credits, it's still 14 million less than the Venator, and you got this ship that only required a minimal crew of 1,100 with only 100 troops, but you got a hangar bay that could accommodate 20 shuttles, 24 starfighters, and 150 work pods, along with an armament of 10 turbo laser batteries, 4 point defense laser cannon batteries, and an enormous payload of 240 torpedoes on board. This Golan changes its role a bit, switching from locking down areas of space to becoming its own relatively deadly shipyard, as you can see with its 150 work pods, and all of these docks for capital ships. These are most likely not Interdictor-class Star Destroyers, but Immobilizer 418s, since though both might still be around in 40 ABY, we know that more Immobilizers were used during this time, and the bridge seems to be flatter, instead of this double bridge look of the Interdictor, something that is made even more complicated with the switch from Legends to Canon, which kind of merged the look of these two vehicles. So using the 300 meter width given for the Immobilizer, we get 4,500 meters up to this halfway mark, for a total of 9,000 meters long, or 5.59 miles. Its height of 8,100 meters, or 5.03 miles, makes it about 5.5 ISDs long, and 9 space slugs tall. But to make the SSD seem even crazier, the Golan VIII would still only be about half the length of Super Star Destroyers, like the Executor-class Star Dreadnought. So that's it for its history, but you definitely want to hear the cool facts and behind the scenes stuff. All of these ships, even the Golan I, were still around during the time of the Yuzon-Vong War. The picture I showed for the Golan VIII is actually supposed to be the Golan I, but this doesn't make any sense known for the given stats of the Golan I. Combine that with the fact that each Golan gets bigger, with the following iterations, and I thought it would make more sense to use that image for the VIII, which had no image, but which we knew was the latest and most expensive, and would logically be the biggest at this final installment. And I'm not sure if, or why there would be any connection, but perhaps the name was inspired by the Golan Heights, a strategically important area captured from Syria by Israel during the 6-Day War. And this line of space stations first appeared in the book Spectre of the Past, and the game Star Wars X-Wing Alliance, and has had a ton of other stats added to it from various different source books. So that's it for the Golan Defense Platform, but most important of all, remember, never try to speed past a Golan that's monitoring planetary traffic, and the Force will be with you, always.